Hi, good evening, Gateway parents. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Kelly Perry, and soon I will have Steve Manges with me. And tonight we are going to talk about technology safety according to parents. The reason why we created this presentation started back at break when I was realizing a lot of students were going to be getting new technology, new devices, especially our 5th and 6th graders who will be soon getting smartphones of their own. So I contacted my colleague, Mr. Manges, and said, hey, how can we put together a program to help our parents learn what to do and help them navigate some of this technology and keep our kids safe? So tonight, we're not going to delve super deep. This is basically an overview of some topics we feel that are important and some tools that we think are going to be really important to you. And we'll provide you with links, we'll provide you with QR codes, and so that you can move forward, do your own research, as well as be able to use these tools to help keep your children safe. And so understanding the essentials of digital life with your kids is super important. We want them to have their freedom, but yet we want to make sure that we know what they're doing and that we can keep good communication open with our students. And that is so crucial. Right now, I would like to introduce Steve Manges, one of our technology teachers here at Gateway Middle School, and he's going to take the next part, and then I will see you at the end.
Good evening. My name is Steve Manges. I teach computer classes here at Gateway Middle School. And my focus is really about the parental controls, or at least like what's available for you as far as cell phones and even other things like social media and gaming systems. So as we look at these, we're not going to necessarily dive into each individual device. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time like talking about how to do certain things. You're going to see a variety of QR codes over the next few moments. You don't necessarily have to worry about all these different QR codes that'll come up that will link you to directions for these types of controls. What I would do is I would wait till the end of the presentation where we'll have two specific QR codes, one to the presentation that we're giving to you right now, and then a QR code to a quick sheet that we have available to you as well. So if you do miss the QR codes that come up here on the screen, then don't be concerned, because again, there'll be two at the very end that we'll point out to you that will be maybe useful to you. Now when it comes to the devices, if this is something new to you, then you need to understand that you can set limits on the devices, screen time limits, app restrictions, content filters. And what's also important is to kind of communicate this. If I can speak personally for a moment, one of the things that we did, my son got his phone when he was entering 7th grade. And to be honest with you, we were kind of hoping to put it off, but what sort of dictated it, and maybe you share similar circumstances where we were kind of being dictated by like what was happening with him as he entered junior high, middle school, and that was the swim team. They needed students to be able to text the parents on their way homes. And so then we made the decision to get a phone for him. And so we started with some of those screen time restrictions and app restrictions using Apple's screen time restrictions. Then in here we have a variety of different things here. Each device, we have iPhones and Google Android phones. Both of these have, in these QR codes here, both of these are for the free settings that you can get for the devices. So for an iPhone, you can use this QR code and it will take you to screen time controls that you can set up. And like I said, that involves, like, one of the things that we set up was like the types of movies that he could access, the amount of time he could access with his device, and we can also shut off access at nighttime as well. And Google has something called, I believe it's, let me look at it in my notes here. It's called the family link or family plan where you can go in and do different settings. There's also paid versions over here. And that particular QR code, that will take you to three types of paid versions. One of the ones that I'll just recommend right now, and I don't get any kind of kickback for this, is the Bark app. That's one that we used for our son's phone. There is a fee involved with it, but I really feel like it was worth the money because you could actually turn off features during the school day, set up time periods that he wasn't allowed to access certain apps during the school day. YouTube, Snapchat, even the internet or Safari or things like that we wanted to set up for him. But here's the key as we continue along here. The key to all this is open conversation. And so if you're not, like, one of the things we did when our son was 12 going into 7th grade was we said, we're going to give you this phone, but understand that, like, at any time we can remove this device from you, or at any time we may need to see what's on the device. And that's kind of critical, I think, as far as letting your child know that, like, hey, you know, you've got a device here, but please understand that we're the parents and we want to monitor what you're doing with it. And like I said, the free options through Apple, through Google, are one way to do that. And then, of course, like I said, there are paid versions as well. Now, when it comes to social media, which is probably one of the biggest things that your middle schooler will come into contact with, or at least ask you about, is using social media. And so here are a few of the top, I would say top 4 that Mrs. Perry and I run into here at school, and even things that I ran into as a parent with my son. Now, full disclosure, we kind of restricted all of these with our son until he's 17 now, until he turned 16. So we were kind of a little bit maybe more stringent with that than some parents are. But most people have probably heard of these already. TikTok, which is meant to be kind of a YouTube alternative. It's more short clips that kids can watch. Usually they flip through what are called reels. And then you have Instagram, which is, again, meant to share photos. They have stories. I often hear students talking about, hey, did you look at Mrs. Perry's story on Instagram? Or Mr. Manges' story. Not that we have those things, but that's just the example that I'm using here. So a lot of the times you'll hear that maybe if you hear those things like, hey, I did this on my story, or hey, Jack has this on his Instagram story. That's what they're referring to. Snapchat messaging. This actually was an app that was initially created for kind of nefarious reasons, because it was meant to send messages and then those messages would disappear. It would send images and then those messages would disappear. The idea is that you can kind of send maybe appropriate and or inappropriate things through this app. And again, very, very popular app with kids here at the middle school level, and something that you should be aware of. Now, in a moment, I'm going to show you that there are ways to help monitor this. There are ways to help to keep an eye on what's going on with your child. And then the last one before I move on is Discord, which is not one that I'm come into contact with my son, but I do know that a lot of kids that do gaming use that as a means to kind of communicate with one another. And it's often more of it's again a social media aspect where they oh, I went too far, excuse me, let me go back, where they are able to like kind of communicate with each other. They have different rooms or servers that they can come into contact with each other. Now, as far as the parental controls are, and again, I know we have these 4 QR codes up here on the screen. Again, each one of these is meant to help you to help maintain some kind of control over your child's usage with these devices. So TikTok, it has something called family pairing. And again, you can go in there, create your own account. Your child could create his or her account, and then you can link those accounts. So again, you can limit screen time. You can put a restricted mode for content. You could also restrict direct messaging as well. And those could be things that you might want to consider, especially with TikTok. as the, in culture right now, that has been a topic of conversation. The same thing with Instagram. Now, Instagram allows you to supervise your 13 to 17-year-olds, which brings up a good point. All of these apps have a minimum age of 13. So in reality, if your child's younger than 13, they shouldn't be using these apps. They would be violating the user policy, which the companies could crack down on and then, of course, delete that account. And Instagram also has filters as well. You can also get monitoring reports with Instagram. You can supervise both the teens you could supervise what they see and what they hear or what they speak to each other with that. Snapchat also has a parental control. And again, all of these would be, you would create an account, the child would create an account, and then you would link those two accounts. And this one's nice because you can actually see who they're talking to. You can get a friends list. You can see who they've messaged. And that way you can keep an eye on, are they messaging people that aren't necessarily part of their friend group. And then lastly, Discord. And again, all these QR codes will link you to the ways that you can link up your account with theirs. And again, with Discord, it also has a family filter as well. You can see some things like keeping themselves safe from like direct messages. You can also use parental codes to connect their accounts to yours. And those are all things that I think could be very effective for you in monitoring what your child sees online. Now we come to gaming. So that was social media. And social media is its own kind of entity, something that you need to keep an eye on. I know myself, our decision as parents was to just not allow our son, my wife and I, to let him go on to these apps until he was older. And then we made a decision together to let him do that. Actually, most recently, he just got onto Instagram right before his 17th birthday. Now we have gaming. And gaming is not like, a lot of us are probably Gen Xers or millennials, where we grew up with Ataris or Segas or Nintendos. And so a lot of that was just, you brought your friend over and you played together, or you played by yourself, and then you might have had groups come over and hook up a couple different machines. That's just not the way gaming works anymore. Gaming can work anywhere. Students, your children can communicate with one another online through these systems. But again, there are controls that you can put in place to allow students to be safe when they're using this. The key is this online multiplayer. That's really one of the things that kind of comes up with the students. So there are privacy settings that you can have in place, friend controls, even purchase controls. And this is something too, the purchase controls, that's something you can do even on the phones with in-app purchases. Not this session, there we go. So those are things that you might want to look into as far as just controlling the way that they communicate. I know with our son, he had a Nintendo Switch, and so he was trying to hook up with some of his friends. And so those were things that we could monitor through their parental controls. And so here again, we have 3 QR codes. And I just want to remind you again, those of you that are watching, you don't need to worry about grabbing these right away. Like at the very end, we will give you a QR code to access these. You have PlayStation parental controls. You have Nintendo and Xbox. Although I've been told by my son that Xbox is no longer the cool gaming system. I'm not sure if that's true or not because I don't play it too much. But let's start with PlayStations. So with PlayStation, you can do this via the settings, and there's actually family and parental controls. And this gives you the right to restrict gaming rates. So like mature games, you could restrict those. Daily limits, you can block web browsing, and all of this is done through a family management account. Let me also say this before I move on. With the phones and with the gaming systems, a lot of the times they want you to create like a 4-digit PIN. And it's important that that 4-digit PIN is something that you only know. So when we set up app limits on my son's phone, I used a 4-digit code that my wife and I know, but he doesn't know what that is. So that way he can't go in and to change those settings or remove those settings. So that's something important as you set these things up. Nintendo, which is something I'm familiar with, we did download their parent app. It allowed us to set like daily time limits. And you can override those. So like sometimes he'd be playing in the car on vacation, like he had a Nintendo Switch. So he would be in the car and playing, and maybe we're on a 6-hour drive to one of our favorite places, New England, and he would want more time on the Switch. So I would get into the app and allow him more time with that. So those are things that you can set up, as well as, again, the in-app purchases that you may not want your credit card jumping up on that. Xbox also has something that they use with the family gaming. It's through Microsoft. It's a website that they access. Again, the QR codes here will give you that information. YouTube. YouTube is one of those things where they were kind of proactive in the beginning by creating what was called YouTube Kids. And that gave you the ability to kind of create a profile that was a child profile that then they could download the YouTube Kids app and access more student-friendly, child-friendly videos as opposed to the full-blown access to YouTube. Again, this is something that allows you, again, to create watch times, avoid autoplay. That's something there where as they build an algorithm, you may even notice this yourself if you use YouTube. You start to build an algorithm, and as you're watching a video, another one will pop up and keep playing. And here with this, you can actually eliminate that and try to avoid that popping up because it may be something that isn't appropriate for them. Once again, this would be something where you would create an account, you would link their account to yours, and then you'd be able to create those limits and create those different options for them. And again, you can always look into, especially if your child's below the age of 13. Here at Gateway, one of the things that schools did was they limited access to YouTube in certain ways because of the age range. If you were below 13 or 12 or younger, like they kind of blocked entirely YouTube. And then if you're 13 to 17, there's certain other restrictions that apply. So you need to look into that and see if that applies to you as well. The one last thing that I want to talk about before I let Mrs. Perry come back is this is an app that I don't personally use it, but it is something that I've heard about, especially if you have older kids. And it's kind of a monitoring app to know where they are. So if you're ever concerned, and again, this is a paid app. One of the things that we do is we don't have access to this, but we do location sharing within our family. So we have like our family management account that we use, and each of us shares their location with one another, like my wife and my son and I. And so we can see each other. This one allows you to kind of create check-ins and do different things where you can see where they are. And I know like a friend of mine, their son was on this and driving in a car, and he was kind of going over the speed limit a little bit. And they called him while he was out and said, you need to slow down when you're driving. But this could be a nice app to use. There is a free version to this that gives you kind of a limited abilities and different things that you can do, but then there are tiered versions that you can pay for. I know it's a very popular app. You might be using it right now for yourself or for your older child. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Perry, who's going to talk to you about ChatGPT and other AI features. I appreciate your time.
Hello again. So as we were creating this presentation, this is full disclosure, we did use AI to create this. What we did, though, was it created the design. Mr. Manges and I put in all of the information and we did all of our own research. But as we were creating it, one of the things that I was thinking about was there's so much going on in AI right now. And what really prompted this the other day was a lot of people started to use the ChatGPT caricature. And I looked at that and I'm thinking, oh, that's so cool. I want to try that too. And then I stopped myself and I said, wait a second. Look at all of these things that are in there. And if I put this out on my social media page, this could become a problem and I no longer own that image. So I thought this is something that we really need to put into the presentation, because so many parents don't understand AI, and they don't know how to talk to their kids, they don't know how to communicate or show them different things about AI. So I thought we would just do a quick overview about that. So one of the things that we use every day in AI would be spell correct. So AI is in our lives every day, and it's extremely helpful, whether we're using Siri or Alexa, but it's really our job to teach the kids how to use it responsibly. So the information that we're going to give you is from our own research. I've done research with Google Parents, different guides to AI. There's a YouTube channel called Dad versus Technology that I think a lot of parents would be really interested in, simply for the fact that everything that he puts in there is straight from the data. So apps like Sora can create some incredible images that look incredibly real. So understanding deep fakes is very important. This is an image that I use in one of my multimedia lessons in regards to AI. And if you take a look on the right, we see Tom Cruise, but on the left is the original picture. And it's amazing what technology can do to create these deep fakes. And it's important that we teach our children how to discover those deep fakes, because they're on YouTube and they are on different sites where they're seeing these videos from Sora and it looks so real. And we want to make sure that our kids are understanding what is fake. And even though AI can be used in so many great ways, it can also be used in bullying, sexual harassment, and what is called NCII, which is non-consensual intimate imagery. And that's where that deep fake goes into. Another thing that we need to be aware of is the AI research. We go on, we do a Google search, and the first thing we see is AI generated information. We think, oh, that must be real, but it's not fact-based. It's just what can be found on various sites throughout the internet. And we all know that not everything on the internet is true. So to help kids stay safe when using AI, here are some helpful tips. Remind them never to enter private information into chatbots, such as their phone number, home address. Even photos uploaded to an AI model can be used as a training module and can be extracted. So all of the things that they use now, AI is using to train more computers. So you want to disable that, improve the model to prevent that child's data from being used in training AI modules. You can implement those quiet hours. You can get safety alerts from ChatGPT in case your child is putting something in there about self-harm. They will alert you. You can customize those safety settings if you're concerned about, you want to have filters for violent or sexual or inappropriate material. Or you can turn off image generation so that they can't make those deep fakes. But you do have to link your account to theirs if you want to make sure that you can monitor what they do on ChatGPT. Okay. So these are some QR codes that I think are really important. The Family Guide to AI, how to talk with your child about AI, and the AI Risk Student Guide. This is all coming from my research, and it is all based on fact. So We know that tonight is an overwhelming amount of information. And with that information, I'm sure that you have a lot more questions than you do answers, and it's a little bit confusing. So it's really important to communicate with your children and other parents because they're having the same issues you are. And at GMS, you can always contact the school for assistance, whether it's through the counseling office or any of their classroom teachers. We are going to leave you tonight with some resources. So in the chat, both Mr. Manges and I have been putting links to various things on there. One of those links is going to be to this presentation so that if you missed anything, you will have access to it. You can look it over again if it went a little too fast for you. And then you can check out the QR codes and those links to do your own research. And I think that's important. Even though, yes, we did our research and we're presenting it, it's important that you do your own research as well and find out what is going to work best for you and your family. Here's also a QR code, which is a quick sheet. And I'm gonna grab one real quick. Okay. So Mr. Manges made this quick sheet to help with tech tips, the different parenting apps, and it gives a lot of red flags to watch out for and just some quick tips. So you will be able to access this through that QR code. We have been running the chat throughout this YouTube live presentation. So at this time, if anybody has any questions that they want to put into the chat. Otherwise, here are our emails. You can access Mr. Manges' email at smanges or me, kperry at gatewayk12.org if you have any questions about this presentation, anything that we talked about this evening. Okay. All right, we aren't seeing any questions right now. So maybe if you have had, after you've had an opportunity to think about these things that we've talked about tonight, or after you've gotten into any of the online sites that we have referenced this evening and you want to talk more about that, we are more than welcome or more than willing to help you out in any way. Thank you for joining us this evening and have a good night.